The Trudeau years are coming to an end. This is Now You Know. I'm Rob Snow.
All the news you need to know.
This is Now You Know with Rob Snow on News Radio.
It is the news that so many Canadians have been waiting for. What will Justin Trudeau do? And now we know. Justin Trudeau will resign as leader of the Liberal Party and as Prime Minister of Canada after the Liberal Party chooses someone to replace him. Mr. Trudeau made the announcement within the last hour during a news conference at Rideau Cottage in Ottawa.
Over the holidays, I've also had a chance to reflect and have had long talks with my family about our future. Throughout the course of my career, any success I have personally achieved has been because of their support and with their encouragement. So last night over dinner, I told my kids about the decision that I'm sharing with you today. I intend to resign as party leader, as Prime Minister, after the party selects its next leader through a robust, nationwide, competitive process. Last night, I asked the President of the Liberal Party to begin that process. This country deserves a real choice in the next election, and it has become clear to me that if I'm having to fight internal battles, I cannot be the best option in that election.
As a result of today's news from Prime Minister Trudeau, we also know that he met with the Governor-General, Mary Simon, this morning and requested the Governor-General prorogue Parliament, and the Governor-General has granted that request. So Parliament will now be on an extended break. MPs will not be back in the chamber until March 24th.
In 2008, the Governor-General correctly concluded that because the very last times in the previous weeks that the confidence of the House had been tested, it had passed that confidence test, Stephen Harper continued to have the confidence of the House. And it actually would bear out because as soon as they came back from the prorogation, Stephen Harper won a confidence vote once again. So a political document or political speeches doesn't carry the kind of weight that winning a confidence vote means. But this prorogation will take us only into March, and there will be confidence votes in March in the passing of supply that will allow Parliament to weigh in on confidence in a way that is entirely in keeping with all the principles of democracy and the workings of our strong institutions.
The question about Justin Trudeau's future has been the issue in Canadian politics for quite some time now, but even more so in the last 3 weeks since the resignation of his finance minister, Chrystia Freeland. Mr. Trudeau was asked today, why now?
It's time for a reset. It's time for the temperature to come down, for the people to have a fresh start in Parliament, to be able to navigate through these complex times, both domestically and internationally. And the reset that we have is actually two parts. One is the prorogation, but the other part is recognizing that removing me from the equation as the leader who will fight the next election for the Liberal Party should also decrease the level of polarization that we're seeing right now in the House and in Canadian politics, and allow people to actually focus on serving Canadians in this House and with their work the way Canadians deserve.
We will have comprehensive coverage of this today here on Now You Know. We are joined right now by the Parliamentary Bureau Chief for News Radio, Cormac MacSweeney. Hi, Cormac.
Hello.
What happens now?
Well, we're still waiting on details from the Liberal Party as to what this leadership race will look like, but we do know Parliament has been prorogued until March 24th, so it's going to have to be a relatively quick one in that time frame to see who will be the next leader of the Liberal Party and then become the next Prime Minister of our country. And before that March 24th date, we're expecting to potentially have a new leader in place and a new cabinet likely as well, as that new leader will want to set up path forward. And of course, with a prorogation means we're going to get a new throne speech and a confidence vote, I believe as early as March 26th. I think it's supposed to be 2 days after the throne speech that there is a confidence vote on the throne speech. So that new leader will be able to lay out their vision for the country. But we still don't know the rules yet. We don't know how this is going to shake out in terms of those Liberal Party battles. But we do know a lot of names. There are a lot of people who have been rumored to be interested in the job, potentially planning, reaching out to MPs, looking for caucus support, member support, and that includes, of course, Chrystia Freeland, the former finance minister, former Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney, Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly, current Finance Minister Dominic LeBlanc, and even former BC Premier Christy Clark, and whoever else wants to toss their name into the hat, because there might be a few more. So it might be a robust race, but it will likely be a short one in the grand scheme of things to choose the next leader and next Prime Minister.
But that committee meeting that was supposed to be held tomorrow, where the Conservatives had planned to move at the committee level a motion of non-confidence, that's off now.
Well, yeah, that won't happen because with the prorogation of Parliament, all committee work, everything basically shuts down, and you're resetting Parliament as a result of that. However, there will be a confidence vote immediately when Parliament returns, because there will have to be a throne speech after a prorogation, and that throne speech is voted on, and it is a confidence test to the government, not to mention supply matters, which are money matters to keep the government operating. That will also be a confidence test for the government. So the opposition parties will have a chance to take down the government once this prorogation is over. This is basically stalling to give the Liberals time to install a new Prime Minister at a time where we're facing a lot of uncertainty with everything happening down in the U.S. and the new administration threatening a massive tariff on Canadian goods.
What has been the reaction from some of the other political leaders in the country?
Well, it's been interesting because, typically if a leader steps down, there's always some sort of cordial words and things like that to thank them for their public service and maybe take a couple of jabs. That's not what we're getting this time around. Pierre Poilievre has put out a video on social media where he says that this isn't over, that there's still a fight, and it's the Liberals who have been letting Canadians down regardless of who is the leader. He calls this a dark chapter in our history, with the departure of Trudeau ending that dark chapter, as he says. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh also releasing a statement saying that the Liberals are letting Canadians down and they need to be replaced no matter who is the leader. So all signals right now are that the opposition parties are sticking to their guns. They want an election as early as possible, and we'll see how this shakes out after March 24th.
Thank you for the update, Cormac MacSweeney.
Anytime.
Our parliamentary bureau chief for News Radio. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. We'll be right back.
Now You Know with Rob Snow continues on News Radio.
Well, let's talk about the politics and the election politics of this huge news today. The pending departure of Justin Trudeau. The search for a new Liberal leader will begin. Andrew Enns is back with us, Executive Vice President of Leger, Central Canada. Thanks for joining us.
Pleasure to be back on the program, Rob. Hope the holiday season treated you well.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm glad I'm not a member of the press gallery having to hang out in front of Rideau Cottage for another news conference today, because it is quite a chilly day in the nation's capital. We're suffering from this polar vortex, so a little cold to be out there today. But let me ask you this. Mr. Trudeau essentially saying, let the process begin to choose my successor. Based on the work that your firm has been doing, just how bleak is it for Trudeau and the Liberals right now?
Well, up until today, we've looked at that question basically as one, right? Trudeau and the Liberal Party were one of the same, and it's very bleak. From a ballot perspective, our last poll that we put out just before Christmas, the Conservatives held a 23-point lead over the Liberals. The Liberals were barely hanging on to second place ahead of the NDP. People were deeply dissatisfied with the government. So the things were bad, and then add to that the troubles internally for the Prime Minister in terms of his leadership. I mean, as the holiday season unfolded, caucus members appeared to be meeting virtually and having discussions, and word leaked out that, whether it was 50 members out of the Ontario caucus, the majority of the Quebec caucus, I mean, it was starting to add up. So yeah, the options for the Prime Minister in terms of his leadership started to narrow very, very quickly. Today's announcement is interesting in the sense now that we're going to start to see, how much of this was personal animosity to the Prime Minister himself, and does the fact that now he's laid out this, he basically said, "Okay, I've heard, you get the message."
Yeah. You can take me out of the equation now.
Yeah, take me out of the equation. What does this mean? And so yeah, we'll see. We're going to be in field. There'll be I'm sure a flurry of polling to see what all this means. I think from a ballot perspective, I don't think there'll be huge movement, but we'll see. I think Canadians will sort of pause a little bit. I still think that, underpinning this, I mean, there were policy issues. There were decisions made by the government that Canadians have disagreed with, and I'm not sure those and some of that anger and some of that frustration is going to necessarily disappear just by the Prime Minister announcing that in a couple of months I'll be gone.
But I wonder, Andrew, as people perhaps, if they're considering it at all, another Liberal leader, other options, whether that's Chrystia Freeland or Mark Carney or the other names that we have heard, whether you would expect a bounce for the Liberals. What would you expect?
Well, I wouldn't expect to see any bounce until the actual leader is selected.
Okay.
I think quite frankly, because the leadership it's hard to imagine that the Liberal leadership's going to dominate the news cycle. We've got a lot of other things on the that are going to suddenly pop up very quickly, including an important day, January 20th. A few weeks from now. Mm-hmm. I think, though, when a new leader is selected, and I guess we'll wait to see the timeline of that. People are talking, months and a half, maybe 2 months. So we'll have to see what when that is. I think then that'll be the time, if there is going to be a bit of a bounce or some movement in terms of that ballot question. That might be when we start to see things. Maybe a bit of that anger starts to dissipate a little bit, but I think Canadians now will pause. I don't think they're necessarily going to embrace again the Liberal Party until they actually get a sense of who's leading it and what this individual has in store for in terms of his or her plans for the country.
Okay. Thank you for your time, Andrew. Good to hear from you. Quite a way to start a cold Monday morning in Ottawa. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, look, and hopefully we talk again, Rob.
I believe we will be. Thank you. Andrew Enns is Executive Vice President at the polling firm Leger. This is Now You Know. I'm Rob Snow on News Radio.
There is no question Rob won't get answered.
Now You Know with Rob Snow continues
on News Radio.
January 6, 2025. That will go down in history as the day that Mr. Trudeau announced he would be stepping down as the leader of the Liberal Party and as Prime Minister of Canada once the Liberal Party selects his successor. We are beginning to get political reaction from other party leaders in this country. Just moments ago, Yves-François Blanchet, the leader of the Bloc Québécois, spoke to reporters in Ottawa. He was asked, among other things, whether there is any way his party would continue to support the Liberal Party after today's news.
What if there is something that is put on the table that the Bloc Québécois has been asking for, that a new Liberal leader decides to say, we would like your support in exchange for this?
We are beyond that. Now is time for an election, which I will understand that would be held after the Liberal Party has chosen a new leader. And there's nothing else to be taken into consideration at this point.
You will not work with them?
The institution we are facing is the Liberal Party of Canada. It has been deeply transformed by Mr. Trudeau, and there is no possible way for this party to become something else in a few weeks. So we are facing the same people with the same values, the same ideology. We have to go in elections.
Okay. An election. Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the Conservative Party, the leader of the official opposition, posted a video on social media saying this changes nothing. We need an election.
Good day. Canadians desperate to turn the page on this dark chapter in our history might be relieved today that Justin Trudeau is finally leaving. But what has really changed? Every Liberal MP in power today and every potential Liberal leadership contender fighting for the top job helped Justin Trudeau break the country over the last 9 years. All Liberal politicians actively worked to pass into law the job-killing inflationary carbon tax, a tax that Carbon Tax Carney endorsed in his book. All supported a law quadrupling the tax over the next 5 years. All voted for or actively supported Trudeau's out-of-control spending, debt, and immigration. All passed Trudeau's housing policies that doubled the cost of homes. All Liberal politicians helped pass catch-and-release bail and house arrest for the most rampant reoffenders. Policies that increased violent crime 50%, gun crime 116%, and hate crime by 250%. So given that Liberal MPs and leadership contenders unanimously supported everything Trudeau has done, why dump him now, right before an election? Have they had a change of heart? Is it because they feel guilty that they doubled housing costs, hiked taxes, unleashed crime, broke immigration, forced a quarter of the population into poverty? No. They continued supporting Trudeau when he did all of those things. No, their only objection is that he is no longer popular enough to win an election and keep them in power.
Pierre
they want to
Poilievre,
protect their pension.
leader of the Conservative Party, who goes on for about another minute and a half in that vein. But again, Justin Trudeau is going to resign as the leader of the Liberal Party and as Prime Minister after the Liberal Party has a leadership race. Also, the Governor General Mary Simon has agreed to Mr. Trudeau's request, and Parliament will be prorogued until March 24th. More reaction coming up. Our political strategists are just ahead for today's Newsday panel. Coming right up. I'm Rob Snow on a big breaking news day. The latest breaking news coming up now on News Radio.
Questions.
Now you know with Rob Snow has the answers.
On News Radio. The Newsday panel.
It is time for our Newsday panel. Gary Keller, Vice President of Strategy Corps. Hi, Gary.
Good morning, Rob.
Nick McRoberts, Vice President Winston Wilmot. How are you, Nick?
Good, Rob.
Yeah, good to hear from you. Let's start with you, Nick, because you're the former Liberal staffer, and get your reaction to Mr. Trudeau's announcement today, please. Your thoughts.
Yeah, I think like so many Liberals right now, the first one is, to thank the Prime Minister for his service. It's not lost on anyone that he has paid a deep personal price that he has spoken about for his prime ministership, and he should be proud of the work that he's done on child poverty and healthcare in this country. But obviously, I think that this is coming a little too late. I think that he played this out longer than it needed to go for personal reasons, and we are now faced with a situation where we have, quote unquote, a lame duck prime minister in the face of a new Trump administration in the States, which has set its sights on Canada. And I think the Liberal Party owes it to Canadians to be incredibly transparent over the next hours, if not only a few days, on how they and the party are going to select the next Prime Minister of Canada for however long that's going to be.
Gary, what are your thoughts initially?
Well, I agree with Nick. This took way too long. I thought the Prime Minister, for the good of the country, should have made a statement before he went on vacation on, say, Friday, December 20th, because right now, for the last number of weeks, we've been living in a situation where the Prime Minister and the people around him put party and their own personal futures ahead of the future of the country. We have an inauguration taking place in 2 weeks. We are in total chaos. There is a lack of leadership at the center, and we're going to continue to be dominated by a lack of leadership, just as Donald Trump is starting to impose massive tariffs on us. And again, this could have been prevented. This could have happened in October or November, but the Prime Minister's hubris and narcissism has prevented him from seeing the light until today. And now we are really in the soup, and it is very late.
Okay, let's listen to, again, Prime Minister Trudeau on why now.
It's time for a reset. It's time for the temperature to come down, for the people to have a fresh start in Parliament, to be able to navigate through these complex times, both domestically and internationally. And the reset that we have is actually two parts. One is the prorogation, but the other part is recognizing that removing me from the equation as the leader who will fight the next election for the Liberal Party should also decrease the level of polarization that we're seeing right now in the House and in Canadian politics, and allow people to actually focus on serving Canadians in this House and with their work the way Canadians deserve.
But he also admitted during his remarks today that part of the reason that he's leaving, beginning the process to leave, is because he has lost the support of so many members of his caucus. It came across to me as he still thinks he's the best person to fight on, but he doesn't have the support of his own caucus. That was my reading of it. Nick, what about you?
Yeah, it's hard to govern when your employees, so to speak, don't have faith in you. I question his association of prorogation and the leadership contest kind of having to happen at the same time. There's many opportunities to have a leadership campaign without the need to prorogue. This is going to come across to Canadians as personal and political in the face of a time of real needed policy leadership. And I just, once again, they have bungled this in monumental ways and in their communication, which has beleaguered this government since the beginning.
Yeah. He mentioned time and again, Gary, I'm a fighter. I don't like to back down from a fight, but I can't fight my own caucus and the Conservatives at the same time. What did you think of that?
I thought that was very typical of Justin Trudeau. I thought his statement, he started all about himself, and he continued all the way through with his argumentation around the timing and the way this is happening. Again, I think it speaks to the man's hubris and his personal narcissism and how he sees himself vis-a-vis the Conservative Party, vis-a-vis his own caucus, and vis-a-vis the country. And I think it is entirely in keeping with how he approaches things. And again, this could have all been avoided. And he waited until he's caused chaos for his party, but he's also caused chaos for the country as we're facing some of the toughest headwinds economically, strategically, politically that we will face over the next 4 years. And he himself has only himself to blame for that.
Okay. When we come back, we'll talk about the Freeland factor. He was asked about Chrystia Freeland and what happened 3 weeks ago and where things stand with Chrystia Freeland. Chrystia Freeland with nice things to say on social media today about Mr. Trudeau, thanking him for his service to the country, wishing him well in the future. But really, would any of this be happening if Chrystia Freeland hadn't quit and torched Justin Trudeau on the way out the door? Was it her resignation that really set all of this into motion? When we come back on our Newsday panel, this is News Radio.
No question goes unasked or unanswered.
Now you know with Rob Snow returns on News Radio.
Our Newsday panelists are here on a big news day. Gary Keller, Vice President of Strategy Corps. Nick McRoberts, Vice President at Winston Wilmot. So, it's been 3 weeks since Chrystia Freeland resigned after everything that happened there with Chrystia Freeland and Justin Trudeau. And Mr. Trudeau has not said anything publicly about Chrystia Freeland's resignation. That is until today when he was asked about it by a member of the press gallery. Let's listen to this.
Chrystia has been by my side for close to 10 years now. She has been an incredible political partner through just about everything we have done as a government and as a party over the past decade. I had really hoped that she would agree to continue as my Deputy Prime Minister and take on one of the most important files that not just this government but this country is facing, but she chose otherwise. In regards to what actually happened, I am not someone who's in the habit of sharing private conversations.
Okay. Chrystia Freeland on social media. I thank Justin Trudeau for his years of service to Canada and Canadians. I wish him and his family the very best. Nick McRoberts, would any of this be happening, though, if Chrystia Freeland hadn't resigned? Or did her resignation really set all of this into motion? What was announced today? What do you think?
I think it eventually would have happened.
Okay.
I think, if it happened sooner than maybe the Prime Minister planned, it definitely had to do with her letter. But, you don't get the momentum behind these regional caucuses that quickly, right? You need to come to a consensus in Quebec, Ontario, BC, and Atlantic Canada that the Prime Minister needs to resign. That's a lot of work. And I think that momentum that she kind of put into them to say, let's push him out, played a role, but these conversations were happening and we're going to come to this conclusion regardless.
So it expedited things.
Sure.
Okay. Gary?
Yeah, well, sorry, but the Liberal caucus are a bunch of cowards. They had the power to do this. They could have come out. They could have, really put the pressure on in September and October. This was the slowest, most pathetic coup in parliamentary history that took weeks and weeks and weeks. And it was only because Chrystia Freeland did her letter the week of the fall economic update that allowed others to say, "Oh, well, me too. I don't support the Prime Minister as well." I mean, talk about profiles and courage. But I mean, this has been the whole situation with this ongoing slow-moving coup, not a coup, secret letters written in invisible ink about who signed what. I mean, just ridiculous. The reality is that the caucus had the power to force him out a lot earlier. They just had to have the spine to do it, and they didn't do it. And so here we are now on the cusp of a presidential inauguration that has Canada with a big target 2 weeks away, and the Prime Minister resigning. So I don't have a lot of love lost for the Liberal caucus, who, like I say, some profiles and courage where they could have expedited this a lot earlier.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what happens now. What happens now? What is your understanding of what is going to happen in the selection of a new Liberal leader? Mr. Trudeau says he wants it to be nationwide and robust, and yet the House of Commons has to be back in action on March 24th, 77 days from today. So how is all of this going to work, Nick?
So I've been trying to understand that too, and I've been kind of working the phones a little bit, and then people close to this I don't even think quite yet know. What I would imagine is we have a shortened leadership campaign over the next, call it 2.5 months, and then followed by a throne speech with the new prime minister in place. Whatever happens and however that process unfolds, as I said at the top of the show, I hope that the Liberal Party is taking seriously the fact that they will be selecting the new prime minister for however long, and they need to be transparent and robust with this process, but also one that doesn't get hijacked by different factions of the Liberal Party.
Well, yeah, we have much to discuss on that front as well, but leadership race and March 24th, which is the next big day on the calendar. How well do you see those two things working, Gary?
Yeah, well, I'm not an expert on the Liberal Party constitution, but what I do know is back when I was a young and up-and-coming staffer, even in opposition, the position of Liberal Party president was a powerful position within the Liberal Party that had a lot of ability to marshal forces and really provide leadership on the way forward. Under Justin Trudeau, the president of the Liberal Party has just become an adjunct to Justin Trudeau and his team, doing whatever they want. Throughout this entire leadership crisis, going back to September, where's Waldo? Where's this guy been who's the president of the Liberal Party? He's been nowhere because he's been Justin Trudeau's bidding. And now we're in a situation where he has apparently called a meeting of the National Board of Directors for Wednesday. The caucus is meeting on Wednesday to figure out what the rules are. My understanding is, too, that the deadline to submit papers for leadership candidates is 90 days before the leadership vote. Well, that takes us way past the timeline that we're talking about. So right. I think it's 90 days until it's not 90 days, until the board comes together and says, well, it's only going to be 45 days because, March 24th is coming up. So, we'll really have to wait and see on how the rules shore up. But I think one thing that Justin Trudeau has done under his leadership, he's weakened the Liberal Party's apparatus, and so I think they'll come up with whatever rules they want to come up with to make this a short.
So that they can have a leader in place by March 24th, right?
Exactly. They
need a leader by March 24th. Mm-hmm. Because the government's going to fall a couple of days later, and they're going to be stuck with Trudeau running the campaign.
Absolutely.
Which, by the way, the Conservatives would prefer. I think all the parties would prefer that. But we'll be right back. Talk a little bit about Justin Trudeau's legacy. What will he be remembered for? The good, the bad, the ugly. A few minutes on that when we come back with our Newsday panel. I'm Rob Snow. This is News Radio.
Critical thinking is not dead.
Now you know with Rob Snow.
Returns on News Radio.
With Gary Keller and Nick McRoberts on a huge news day with Justin Trudeau setting into motion the process for his replacement. What is his legacy? What will Justin Trudeau be remembered for? We could talk for hours about this, I suppose, Gary. We only have a few minutes, so maybe some bullet points on the good, the bad, and the ugly. Justin Trudeau is 9 years and 63 days as Prime Minister.
Yeah, well, look, I'll obviously start with the good, and I think that, Conservatives will be wanting to dump all over him and his record, and I think there's a fair reckoning of the Prime Minister's record, but I think that, the work that the Prime Minister had done on reconciliation with Indigenous communities, First Nations, and specifically around issues like boil water advisories, those types of things, I think has had a meaningful impact and a positive impact for those communities. However, I think especially since him being in a minority situation from 2019 onwards, he's been more divisive and more, dividing the country with very difficult policy decisions that have had very negative impacts on Canadians. All the things that Mr. Poilievre is talking about are resonating because those are all things that the government had failed to take action on. So I will recognize some of the work he's done on, especially on Indigenous affairs, First Nations, boil water advisories, but I think the negative outcomes will continue to resonate for years and years to come on Canada, and it will take some time to repair the mess that we have in this country.
Nick McRoberts.
It does sound cliche, but the focus on the middle class and this idea that, we're lifting people out of poverty and providing them services that they can't afford, whether that be Dentacare, Pharmacare, the Canada Child Benefit, these are things that will have, as long as they're in place, lasting benefits on people's wallets. And along with a lot of the stuff that Gary talked about and introducing a real modern approach to the environment as well, I think are all things that we can look back on and say he made a better difference to Canada. The bad part about that is, for all his charisma and appeal that he had coming in, it shows that translating that rhetoric into the sustained action and results is a real challenge. And that has led us to kind of an ugly place where these politics of division that he's so willing to say that he's against are what continue to divide Canadians and will divide us going into the next election. And, I'll sit here and support the Prime Minister and say that he's done a lot, but one of those things that he has done is gotten us into the situation that we're in today.
Okay, I would just add maybe one more thing. I would say one of Justin Trudeau's great accomplishments is that he revived the Liberal Party. And he made the Liberal Party a competitive political force again, since assuming the leadership in 2013, and of course winning his one and only majority government in 2015. The sad reality is that today the prospects for the Liberal Party may be even more bleak now than when he assumed the leadership in 2013. And he bears, I think, a lot of responsibility for that. Thanks to both of you today. We'll have a lot to talk about, I think, in the coming weeks and months. We'll speak soon.
Never a dull moment.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Rob.
It's our Newsday panel with Gary Keller, Vice President at Strategy Corps. Nick McRoberts is Vice President at Winston Wilmot. Talkback is coming up next. 2 hours of debate and discussion on the big issues of the day. And this is the big issue of the day. Justin Trudeau announcing today that he will step down as the leader of the Liberal Party and eventually as the Prime Minister. Not right away, but the process begins now. What's your reaction to that? Phone lines are open, 1-833-668-2577. Join Talkback right after the news on News Radio.
It's time to talk back.
On Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now.
And have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
Welcome to Talkback. 2 hours of debate and discussion on the big issues of the day. The big issue of the day, Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau, 23rd Prime Minister of Canada, will step down as the leader of the Liberal Party and as Prime Minister. Not right away, but eventually. He will remain the Liberal Party leader and the Prime Minister of Canada until the Liberal Party selects someone to replace him. And he has also asked the Governor General to prorogue Parliament, and Mary Simon has agreed, so Parliament is prorogued until March 24th. What is your reaction? We have so many questions, and we have a couple of lines available there. 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. Question number one, how do you feel? How does this news make you feel? You feel happy? Are you over the moon? You feel like dancing, celebrating? Are you upset at all? Are you sad, even uncertain? It's coming to an end. The Trudeau years are coming to an end. It's pretty much over. Not just yet, but eventually for Mr. Trudeau. He's going to step down as the leader of the Liberal Party and as Prime Minister of Canada once the new Liberal leader is chosen. And that process will start soon. and there will be no government business happening for the next 77 days because Parliament is prorogued. It is the news that so many people have been waiting for. Trudeau is leaving. Well, now here it is. So how do you feel about it? That's question number one. And question number two, what is Justin Trudeau's legacy going to be, in your opinion? Put another way, what will you remember about Justin Trudeau? He's been prime minister for a long time, 9 years, 63 days. And he will have that job for the next little while yet. This announcement today just puts the process into motion. It's not the end of something. It's just the beginning of something else. But only, 23 people have had this job. Prime Minister of Canada. And he's had it longer than most of them. Only Stephen Harper, Jean Chrétien, Sir Wilfrid Laurier, Pierre Trudeau, Sir John A., and Mackenzie King have been prime minister longer than Justin Trudeau. But it is coming to an end. Maybe not soon enough for some of you, but it's coming to an end. And maybe some of you wanted the chance to vote against the Liberals in the next election because Justin Trudeau was the leader of the party and you wanted to boot them out and punish him. And now you won't get that chance. But he's been the prime minister of the country for more than 9 years. What will you remember about Justin Trudeau? What will his legacy be? Phone lines are open right now. 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. If you have never called before, we always welcome first-time callers around here. Just mention that to our call screener. We will make your call a priority. 1-833-668-2577. Justin Trudeau will step down as the leader of the Liberal Party and eventually Prime Minister after the Liberals choose their new leader. How do you feel about it? And after more than 9 years of Justin Trudeau as Prime Minister of this country, what do you think his legacy will be? What will you remember about Justin Trudeau? 1-833-668-2577. Let's get going here with Wade in Sylvan Lake, line 1. Hello, Wade.
Hey, Rob, I missed you folks.
Well, we've been back for a few days, but let's get right to it here.
Okay.
How do you feel about this news today?
Well, I'm angry because I can't believe there isn't someone on this planet who can step in and remove a leader of a country who has a mental health condition.
Oh, come on now.
No, I'm serious. If you look up the definition of narcissistic personality disorder, that explains Justin Trudeau to a T.
Okay.
It is a mental health disorder. It is a thing. And his legacy will be the worst prime minister in the history of Canada.
Okay. You don't think history is going to be kind to him?
Absolutely not, and it shouldn't be.
Because, look, there aren't many prime ministers who are going to be popular after 10 years in office, right? 9 years in office. Most politicians are not popular after 9 or 10 years in office. People can't wait to show them the door.
Well, you know,
right?
I'm only 66 years old.
Yeah.
And I don't think that there has been a prime minister who has, and his party, who has destroyed our country the way he has done.
Okay.
So, yeah, absolutely treasonous.
Treasonous. Okay, Wade, thank you. Thank you, Wade. Let's go to Halifax right now. Tim is in Halifax. Hi, Tim.
Hi, Rob.
Yep, good to hear from you. What's your reaction to the news from Mr. Trudeau today?
I'm last caller. I am absolutely furious.
You're furious. Okay, why do you say that?
Yes. Between him doubling the national debt, how many MPs, foreign interference, all this other stuff?
11.
And then on top of that, this clown of a governor general ignores Poilievre's call to dissolve Parliament to force an election and prorogues it instead when we're facing this 25% tariffs.
Right. Okay.
There's nothing positive here going on. Like, the only thing that would have made me happy is if he was in orange jumpsuit.
Okay.
I agree with the last caller. He's treasonous.
Well,
Prime Minister is the first servant. He violated that on every term that I can think of. So division, crushed protesters, While we got terrorists out there plotting bombs, we've got, like I said, foreign interference. We've got all this stuff going on. Doubled the national debt. I'll repeat that one.
Right.
Doubled.
Well, he would say, and I'm not here to defend him, but he would say there was a pandemic. Businesses were shut down. People couldn't go to work.
But be
needed
fair,
support.
The majority of that wasn't during that time period either.
Well, most of it was, yeah.
Well, I mean, like we can play, like, anyway. He still doubled it for a bunch of wasteful things. He is just like I'm like.
You're furious.
So
like you said, you're furious. I got you, Tim. Okay, thank you. Good to hear from you. One of many calls along those lines I think we'll take today, but that's why we do Talkback. Want all the opinions. Doesn't have to be a pile-on. Maybe you have nice things to say about Mr. Trudeau. Thank him for the service of the country. Some people are doing that. Not many, but some are. Maybe you're one of them. 1-833-668-2577. It is Talkback. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Justin Trudeau has announced his intention to step down as leader of the Liberal Party and as Prime Minister of Canada. He also requested the Governor-General prorogue the Parliament, and she's agreed. So no parliamentary work until March 24th. So now that this is all happening, how do you feel about this news, and what will you remember about Justin Trudeau's time as Prime Minister? Let's take a couple of first-time callers here. Let's go to Andrew in Halifax. Hi, Andrew.
Hey, Rob. How you doing?
I'm interested in knowing how you feel about this news, sir.
Well, thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome.
Well, the fact that he figured it out, that he had nowhere left to go, that just says something about him. But as far as what Trudeau did and his legacy kind of thing,
yeah.
He took care of a couple things, or at least started the ball on a couple things that no other government would touch.
Okay. Such
the
as
indigenous situation where, he's really doing a lot more. The government's doing a lot more to try to help that situation. Okay. Bringing women more into politics.
Okay.
I just read today that we have more women senators in the Red Chamber. So they did some good things.
Okay.
Yeah, they did some terrible things too.
Okay.
The faux pas that he did as far as from a political or even a business point of view, like when he was younger and all those types of things, that was obviously youth talking. But you've got to be careful of your skeletons. Anyways, along the line of what's coming up, I would like to see Canadian politics turn back the dial a bit. Our tone.
Okay.
We're becoming dangerously close to the United States.
Okay.
So polarized.
Yeah.
Both sides now, all three sides of the major parties, all shoot darts at each other rather than as a Canadian citizen who has been voting for 40 years, I would love to hear a politician come out and instead of throwing the darts at the other team, saying, I'm not going to talk about what they've done or haven't done. I'm going to talk to you, your Canadian citizens, about what I can do, what my party can do to make your life better, to make Canada better, to make us stronger, to make us safer, make us a better economy, better democracy. That's what I'd like to hear more of. Not so much about, well, this is what you didn't do.
Okay.
And it's just dangerously close to what has happened in the States. Look at the States. I love the Americans, but my God, it's crazy down there.
Okay. All right, Andrew, thank you. Very busy today, so we're going to move along. Appreciate the call. Call back sometime. Love first-time callers like Brian in Waterloo. Hello, Brian.
Hey, Rob.
Hey, Brian. Thanks for calling. So how do you feel now that Justin Trudeau has started all this moving now? He's going to leave.
Honestly, it feels like it's kind of late.
Okay.
Way too reactive, if you ask me.
Okay. What would you have preferred to have happened then?
Oh, maybe he'd do it a little sooner. I just feel like his ego got in the way of his party's best interest and the country's best interest more often than not.
Okay. What do you think his legacy will be? When I don't know, 10, 20 years from now, when we're all kind of talking about, hey, remember when Justin Trudeau was Prime Minister? What do you think we'll be talking about?
Well, it's interesting because I don't know that we're going to remember him too much as the guy that brought pot to legalization, but that's something he did.
Yes.
To me, I think more.
You think that was a good thing?
It brought tax revenue. I don't know that we've seen benefit from that.
No, I think it was a good thing. I think it was a good thing that he did that.
Yeah, absolutely. It got it off the street and regulated it, and there's a lot of people that have benefited from that, which is
I don't think prohibition was working. So I thought,
no. I mean, the war on drugs isn't it makes money, but
you had 4 million Canadians who were just they were breaking the law. 4 million,
exactly.
Right. So yeah.
But I think the big thing that stands out to me is that huge kind of cornerstone promise when he was first elected about changing the electoral system and then not doing it. I mean, that, for my generation at least, that's a stain to me.
Okay. All right, Brian, thank you. You'll take another call? Yeah. Very busy. 1-833-668-2577. Justin Trudeau is the topic of the day, announcing his intention to step down as leader of the Liberal Party and Prime Minister. Not right away, but the process starts now. Mark in Waterloo. Hello, Mark.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm fine, Mark. Thank you. What's your reaction to the news? How do you feel about this?
I personally think it's a small win for Canadians.
Okay.
Long time coming for sure. The last gentleman on the call said definitely had ego. Kind of fueling his fire to be in power. But again, the fight is far from over. He hasn't relinquished power yet. No. He's just slowed things down. And that's something that Canadians should take note of. Is it really, does he really have Canada's citizens' interest in mind? Or is it his own pocketbook? That's my thing. And I think your next question is, what's his legacy?
Yeah.
His hair. His hair was absolutely outstanding. But to be truthful, that was in jest, okay? And honestly, I'll tell you this. One thing I can say about Justin Trudeau, what he's done, he's encouraged young people to look at the political spectrum. He's encouraged young people to do research and find out things. I have some anecdotal points of view, but I know plenty of young people now who were deemed to be, quote unquote, a liberal-leaning person after doing some basic research, quickly switched to the conservative side. So that's one of the benefits. This is going down in the history books as, dare I say the word fascist, but it's going to go down in the history books of someone who had zero respect for the Canadian population and only respect for his pocketbook. Not too far of a cry from his father.
Okay. All right, Mark. Thank you. Good to hear from you. We are gathering a reaction to the big political news of the day, the biggest news story in the country right now. Justin Trudeau announcing his intention to step down as the leader of the Liberal Party and eventually as Prime Minister of Canada. It all depends on when the Liberal Party can choose his replacement. We are asking for your reaction to this news. How does it make you feel? Are you happy? Are you sad? Let us know. And what will you remember about Justin Trudeau? What will Justin Trudeau's legacy be? 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. The good, the bad, the ugly of Justin Trudeau. When we come back, it's Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Well, Justin Trudeau has announced his intention to step down as leader of the Liberal Party and as Prime Minister. Gathering your reaction to that news. How's that news make you feel? And in your opinion, what will you remember about Justin Trudeau's time as Prime Minister? Ryan in Dartmouth, thanks for calling. Ryan, you're on the air.
Hey, Rob. Thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome. How do you feel about the news?
I'm going to generally say happy because I feel like fresh blood was needed, even if there wasn't, the climate and the realities right now and the pressures in Canada. Like just at this time, it feels like fresh blood is needed. I'd say I'm a little bit on the sad side that it feels like it's a bit more nuclear than it needs to be with all of the commentary that's going along, things that are going on in the States. It's like a really weird time to be looking for a new political leader when someone else very important thinks that political leader should just be a governor.
Yeah.
In terms of what he's going to be remembered for, someone else brought this up. I think that there'll be books about him and how he legalized weed and the impact that that's going to have on, health metrics and everything in the future. And so his name will be in the history books. In that sense, he had a win with the $10 a day childcare. That was a huge win for Canadians with families. Really upset about not getting rid of first past the post as a system. I think a functioning democracy really needs that. That was a huge loss. We have 6 parties and it's yet always just a 2-person race. yeah, he was fun, and he was light when things in Canada were fun and light, and now he's this sunny face in a really dark time, and it's a nice face, but also some people are calling it a punchable face, but
Okay.
it was a natural time to step down. I wish it didn't have to be as nuclear as this, but,
Gotcha.
but
All right.
it is.
Gotcha, Ryan.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for having
you.
your say. Appreciate that. She mentioned the 51st state. Donald Trump, David, was tweeting about this, as a matter of fact, right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, on Truth Social, on Trump's own platform.
Oh, yeah, okay.
He says, many people in Canada love being the 51st state. The United States can no longer suffer the massive trade deficits and subsidies that Canada needs to stay afloat. Justin Trudeau knew this and resigned. If Canada merged with the U.S., there would be no tariffs, taxes would go way down, and they would be totally secure, in all caps, from the threat of the Russian and Chinese ships that are constantly surrounding them. Together, what a great nation it would be! Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point.
All right. Okay. Yeah, that 14 days from today, Donald Trump to be sworn in as the next president of the United States. 14 days from today, and now we have the Prime Minister announcing, see you later, I'm out of here. I intend to step down as the leader of the Liberal Party and as Prime Minister of Canada once the Liberal Party gets this act together and actually picks someone to replace me. Oh, and by the way, there will be no parliamentary business for another 77 days. March 24th, Parliament has been prorogued. More of your calls right after the news. It's a very big news day. We'd love your take on it. This is why we do Talkback, for days just like this, to get your take on moments in history, and this is one of them. So share your opinions, please, on Talkback here on News Radio.
Something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Justin Trudeau is the big topic today, announcing his intention to step down as leader of the Liberal Party and Prime Minister. Parliament prorogued until March 24th. Your reaction to the news, and how will you remember Justin Trudeau's time as Prime Minister? That's what we're asking today. Rob in Calgary. Thanks for calling, Rob.
Hey, Rob. Thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome.
I work in the oil and gas industry in Alberta, Rob, so I'm ecstatic to see Trudeau step down. I wish he would step down as Prime Minister as well as leader of the Liberal. My main concern is, Rob, that we have arguably the most controversial and volatile president of the United States coming back in to take power in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And we have no government now to respond to any of his likely first-day presidential orders that he will sign with Canada's name on them. In response, we are shutting down Parliament for 2.5 months, and Trump takes power in 2 weeks. And we have nobody to respond or to brainstorm or to have any response whatsoever to whatever Trump's whims will be. So that's my concern, is we have no one in power here, shouldn't say no one in power. We have no one acting in Parliament for 2.5 months, and we've got Trump likely signing presidential orders on the first day with Canada's name on them and no one to respond.
All right, Rob, I got you. I'm going to move along. A bit of a dicey cell phone connection there right now. Barry is in Calgary as well. Hi, Barry.
I think in temperature, too. I think.
Barry. Yeah, turn your radio off, Barry.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, hi, Barry. Thanks for joining us, Barry. What's your reaction to the news, sir, about Trudeau?
Well, I think it's a good thing. The one thing no one's mentioned is I think Jagmeet Singh gets his guaranteed pension, doesn't he?
Well, yeah, he qualifies for his pension February 20th. Yeah, he qualifies February 25th, and Parliament's off until March 24th. So, yeah.
So he gets his guaranteed money. I'm wondering if that was part of the deal when they made the arrangement in the first place.
Not sure, but you can speculate that all you want. Go ahead. Yeah.
Anyway, so he gets his couple of million, and good on him, I suppose.
Okay. And now he just wrapped up a news conference saying, I'm going to bring down the government as soon as we can. Well, he's
now
you are. Right?
Yeah. Once he gets his guaranteed money, he'll be happy to pull the plug, I guess.
I can see how people could see it that way. Barry, what
not that we're cynical out here or anything
No.
that.
But let me ask you. The guy has been prime minister for 9 years and 63 days.
Yeah.
What will you remember him for?
Well, about 99 bad things, and he handed out the money for CERB to everybody very quickly. So one really good thing and about 99 bad things.
Okay.
That's the holiday for good, too.
So that's it.
All right, Barry, I got you.
Okay.
Thank you, Barry. Yeah, okay, fair enough. 1-833-668-2577. There's a line available. The cue today might be when you hear somebody hang up, that means there's a free line because they're not lasting very long around here today. John in Halifax. Hi, John.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, John. What's your reaction to Trudeau's announcement today?
Well, frankly, I'm a little bit disgusted.
Disgusted, okay.
He's been at the helm for 9 years now.
Yeah.
He's turned our national budget into a dumpster fire, and quite frankly, I would have loved to see him burn at the polls at the next election.
Right.
Instead, now he's going to step aside. He's going to put the entire country on hold for 2 months while his dumpster fire party gets their stuff together.
Yeah.
And then he's going to throw one of his teammates in front of the bus because they're definitely not going to win the election. Like Poilievre's going to walk all over them, and they all deserve it at this point.
Okay.
Every single one of them that followed him is every bit as guilty as him for the mess that we're in now.
Okay. So it doesn't sound like you're going to have fond memories of the guy.
No, I've got no good memories. When you think of all the scandals that have followed him, and quite frankly, like I think Canadians as voters, we all need to stop and have a good, long, hard look at ourselves. Because I remember in 2015 when this guy came out, and he was talking on TV but saying nothing. He didn't fool me for a second, but he fooled lots of us, and he fooled us 3 times. So how did he get elected 3 times, standing in front of the camera, words coming out of his mouth and saying absolutely nothing? Like, at what point do we hold this Liberal Party accountable for anything that they say or do or don't do?
Well, you will have your opportunity, I guess, in the next election, which, by the sounds of it, could come sooner rather than later. So,
yeah, I've been...
Maybe not soon enough for your liking, but
no.
I think it's not going to last until October, by the sounds of things.
Oh, well, at this point, this gives Jagmeet Singh every reason to backpedal and say, oh, Trudeau's not the prime minister anymore? Okay, we'll make a new deal with the Liberal Party. Because as far as I remember, his target back when he put that letter out before Christmas was essentially Justin Trudeau. So now he's out of the picture. So once again...
Well, he's saying now we're going to bring them down as soon as we have a chance. It doesn't matter who the next leader is. That's what he said today.
Well, with Jagmeet Singh, I will only believe it when I see it. That guy is one of the biggest liars I've ever seen in politics, and he's also every bit as guilty as Trudeau for this.
All right.
He's backed him every step of the way.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, John. This was Jagmeet Singh having a news conference today on where things go from here from his perspective.
Justin Trudeau's Liberals have let down Canadians. They have let you down when it comes to the cost of homes. He's let you down when it comes to the cost of living. And frankly, it's not just Justin Trudeau. It's every Liberal minister, every Liberal MP who looked down their nose at you when people were saying we can't make ends meet. We are struggling with the cost of living. So it doesn't matter who the next Liberal leader is. They've let you down. They do not deserve another chance.
They've let you down. They do not deserve another chance. Doesn't matter who the next Liberal leader is. That's Jagmeet Singh, the NDP leader, within the last hour or so on this big news day with Justin Trudeau announcing his intention to resign as Liberal leader and Prime Minister of Canada. Gathering your reaction to that big news today here on Talkback. I'm Rob Snow. This is News Radio.
something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Gathering your reaction to the news from Justin Trudeau today, finally announcing his intention to step down as leader of the Liberal Party and the Prime Minister. What will you remember Justin Trudeau for during his 9+ years as Prime Minister of Canada? Eric in Cole Harbour, thanks for calling, Eric. Good to hear from you again. Hi there.
Oh, hi, Rob. How you doing?
Good, thank you.
Okay, when I think of Trudeau,
yeah.
Since 2015, the word that comes to my mind is he should have changed his name to MESS, MESS.
Okay.
His climate policies were terrible.
Okay.
Just absolutely insane, and all the trouble that he's caused because of that. The people can't afford this and can't afford that. And then I look at, now legalization of marijuana, like, I wasn't against that being legal. I wasn't for it, rather for it to be legalized, but I never thought anybody should go to jail because they use weed. I smoked weed myself back in the 60s, a different type of weed than there is today. But when I listen to psychologists speak about the damage it can do now because of the strength of the THC and stuff like that, I don't know if it's really a good idea or not. And I really don't think it's cut into the black market. All they've done is provided a giant tiger for the Hells Angels and whoever else to sell their illegal drugs. Did he do anything positive for Canada? No, not a thing.
Not a thing. Okay.
I could go on forever, and I won't. But I will say this: he was a progressive woke, and look at the mess he made. And then we look at the United States. The Democrats have become a woke party on the far left. Look at the mess they left in the United States. Now, with Trump, people have apprehensions. I can get that. But can they chill just for a little bit, wait till he gets in power, and see if he does any of the things that they're assuming that he's going to do? He didn't do it last time. Now, we all know he has an unsavory character. We know that, especially with women, okay? Okay, that's a problem, but you know what I mean? I hope this with Trudeau going. We lost that nut in New Zealand, Ahern. I'd like to see Macron go before he starts a third world war. The idiot that's in Ireland, the other idiot that's in the UK. It's about time we got rid of these woke people so we can get back to having the same world. That's all I got to say because...
You have said it. Okay, thank you, Eric. Thank you. Gotcha. We don't need to take a trip around the world right now. Let's stay in our country, talk about our politics. It's a big political day in Canada. Bill in Calgary. Hi, Bill.
Hey, how you doing, Rob?
I'm good, Bill. Your reaction to the news, Bill?
Well, I think one of your earlier callers just a few minutes ago said it best, disgust. I had a $100 bet with my wife that Trudeau would let his ego and his narcissism take control, and he would come out today and announce a snap election, just to screw everybody in his party, right?
Sure would.
And on the one hand, you sort of can kind of understand. I mean, he's the one that brought all of these idiots in the Liberal Party into power, gave him a job, they stab him in the back, and leave him twisting in the wind. Now, don't misunderstand me. I have no love of Trudeau. I am so glad to see his backside, but we haven't seen it yet. And now he's relegated Canadians to another 4 months between the prorogation, a non-confidence vote on a throne speech, and an election run. We're not getting a new prime minister till May, and I'm talking mid-May, right? Hopefully. I suppose the only good side of that coin is that the new prime minister will be the one to attend the G7 meeting and meet the other leaders of the world. Yeah, I mean, what happens when Trump's people call up in 2 weeks and say, hey, we want to talk about negotiations? And, well, sorry, we're closed for 3 months. Call back in 3 months. The cabinet ministers that you're dealing with aren't cabinet ministers anymore because they're all running for leadership of a defunct party. It's just terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Terrible. What will you remember him for?
What will I remember Justin Trudeau for? Well, I think that, the one thing that I will remember the most is that budgets balance themselves.
Okay. Yeah, budgets will balance themselves.
And the other one I always liked was, well, I don't read my email or my memos.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Bill. Good to hear from you.
No problem.
Yeah, bye-bye. Time for one more here. Tom in Cambridge. Hi, Tom.
Hi, Rob. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Tom.
Great day for news, I'll tell you.
Sure. Yeah, we'll take it.
Okay, so a lot of good, a lot of bad. That's what I'm going to remember Trudeau for. Came in with some good ideas. Probably is leaving with some bad things. He did do some things. He said he was going to do. The daycare situation, legalize marijuana. He brought Canada into the global climate thing, where we could have been back there in 2009 and prior to that. One comment one caller has made there is that, there were 2 other political parties that kept this government afloat because it served their purpose as long as they were getting what they were getting. Now, we'll see what happens. We just did not get to this situation where it's taken a long, long time for the global impact on Canada to come to something. This is my belief, is that, we've had 2 political parties run this country, and both political parties have done their fair share of good and their fair share of bad here. And a time for change would have been, let's elect a political party that could lead, have some insight, and for some foresight, and do some things they wanted to do that kept the middle class, lower middle class involved in processing that. Other than that, he's going to have his objectives, and that he's left on his own terms. He did not basically get thrown under the bus.
Oh, I don't know. It didn't sound like he. I don't know. I listened very closely to what he said today. It doesn't sound like he's leaving on his own terms. I mean, he's basically saying, I can't fight my own caucus and fight the Conservatives at the same time.
Well,
I would be here fighting the Conservatives if the people on my own team would let me, but they're not letting me. Right.
Well, I'm saying that. Well, I'm saying is that okay? Fine, if it's the way it is. I'm out. You guys find somebody else now, and we'll see. If I'm the problem, we'll see how it is.
All right.
That's all I'm saying. I'm just trying to be as fair and not as biased and even unbiased as possible. That he did paint himself into a corner, unfortunately.
Okay.
So.
All right, Tom. Thank you. We'll have lots of time to talk about this. At least it'll be 77 days before Parliament is back. First and foremost, well, what is going to happen between now and then? Are they going to get a new leader in place by March 24th? Because soon after that, maybe 48 hours after that, this government faces defeat. What if it doesn't even have a new Liberal leader by then? 1-833-668-2577. Just one of the many moving parts to today's Justin Trudeau news. This is Talkback on News Radio.
Something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
A couple of lines available there if you want to weigh in on the big news of the day. Justin Trudeau announcing his intention to step down as leader of the Liberal Party and as Prime Minister. That doesn't happen right away. It just begins the process to choose his successor. And the Prime Minister visited the Governor General this morning at Rideau Hall, Mary Simon, and said, can you prorogue Parliament until March 24th? And Mary Simon, the Governor General, has apparently said, you got it, Mr. Prime Minister. No Parliament until March 24th. So how does this news make you feel? And what will you remember about Justin Trudeau's time as Prime Minister, 9 years plus? Al in Ontario. Hi, Al.
Good morning.
Hi, Al.
I will remember the man for doing something that Poulet or any of them would never even think of, and that's doubling the capability of the Alberta oil industry to hit the tidewater. Nobody else would have bought the Trans Mountain pipeline and spent the money, but I talked to a lot of people in the oil patch, and everybody hates the man. Said do nothing for the oil industry. Who in hell, took the chance, gambled on it, and
well, there was a private company that was taking the chance and gambling on it called Kinder Morgan that got fed up with protests and regulatory delays and constantly changing rules, and that's why it abandoned that project. And then the government stepped in, and it was tens of billions of dollars over budget and years behind schedule. Al.
Yeah, but would anybody else have stepped in? Would Poulet or anybody else have stepped in? No, absolutely not. The other thing is, I listened to Poulet this morning.
Polyev. His name is Polyev.
How Trudeau had doubled house prices. I have a brother in Colorado. I called him, and he was so happy to find out who did that to him. I called a son in Arizona, same thing, doubled the house price in the last 5 years, and he was real happy. But he wanted to know who this Paulette was that would know that.
Yeah, okay.
Paulette. And then my sister in California, same thing happened to her. But it's all Trudeau's fault. It's hard to believe.
All right. So you think he's been a good prime minister, Al?
He's been a decent one. He hasn't been maybe a good one.
Why do you think his party's at 16% on the polls, then?
Well, hey, when we talk about polls and talk about votes, would you 6 months ago have said that man that's going to the White House could ever get back? Unbelievable.
Well, 6 months ago, I was giving it a 50-50 chance, actually. Yeah.
Yeah,
because that's
I'll
what the
tell
polls
you,
were saying.
There's so many people with their heads where there shouldn't be. It's unbelievable.
All right, but you have a generally favorable opinion of Mr. Trudeau as Prime Minister of Canada.
Absolutely.
Okay, you're in the minority, sir. Thank you, Al.
I'm old enough to have known his old man, too. So.
Okay. Thank you, Al. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, bye. That's the minority opinion today around here. Love to hear from you, but it'll have to wait until the second hour of Talkback, which comes up right after the latest breaking news. We bring you right up to date on this developing news story today. The departure of Mr. Trudeau from the political scene. 1-833-668-2577. Join us right after the news on News Radio.
It's time to talk back.
On Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now.
And have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
Hour number 2 is here of Talkback on a monumental news day with Justin Trudeau at around 11 o'clock Eastern time today, announcing his intention to step down as leader of the Liberal Party and as Prime Minister. He said, I'll step down as the Liberal leader and as Prime Minister of Canada once the Liberal leadership is settled. He wants a national, robust Liberal leadership to choose his successor. And in addition to that, the other big part of the news story is that Parliament will be prorogued until the 24th of March. So no business in the House of Commons until the 24th of March, 77 days. The House of Commons will be off. It was supposed to come back on the 27th of this month. So we have been asking, first of all, what's your reaction to the news? How do you feel about it? And I mean, we can start the conversation on Justin Trudeau's legacy. What will you remember about Justin Trudeau's time as Prime Minister? Just before we get to more of your calls, the Ontario Premier Doug Ford is speaking right now. This is live.
And I can tell you, the problem is not Canada. As a lot of you know, a lot of Americans, so do I. I've never once heard any American, no matter if it's Republican or Democrat, ever say Canada's the problem. Canada's not the problem. The problem is China shipping in cheap goods into Mexico, Mexico slapping a made in Mexico sticker on and shipping those goods up through the U.S. and Canada, costing Canadian and American jobs. That's unacceptable. And as I've always said, if we have to go it alone with the U.S., so be it. And if we have to do another deal with Mexico, so be it. But we have to make sure that we protect the jobs of Canadians. There's never been a time in history that is so important to make sure that we protect Canadian jobs, no matter if it's our critical minerals that we have to offer to the U.S., our electricity, oil from Alberta. We have a lot to offer our American friends and closest allies.
But does that mean you don't want to have an early election?
Well, Rob, I can tell you right now what I'm focused on right this second, and for moving forward, is making sure that we don't have tariffs. And God forbid, President-elect Trump gets in there and puts tariffs. We have to retaliate. We have to retaliate hard against our friends south of the border, which is unfortunate. And I always say we have to build a fortress Can-Am, Canadian and Americans sticking together in these tough times around the world. And they are tough times around the world right now. But there's no better ally and friend we want to partner up with than the Americans.
But Premier, will you at least rule out an early election before the federal election? Will you rule that out, an election in Ontario before the federal Liberals go to the polls?
Well, I can tell you, my main focus is these tariffs right now. I'm reaching out on a daily basis to officials down in the U.S.
All right, that's good.
To make sure
that's good. Tariffs. Because 14 days from today, Donald Trump is to be sworn in as the next president of the United States, and he has promised, as all of you know, to hit Canada with this across-the-board 25% tariff on all of our exports to the United States, and that's our number one trading relationship is with the United States. And Premier Ford is lamenting the fact that instead of being focused on that threat, now the federal government is in this weird state of suspended animation and even a suspended parliament because of the Liberals and because Justin Trudeau and his caucus, they're going through this internal chaos. You know, the case could be made that the writing has been on the wall for both Trudeau and the Liberals for more than a year, and they've just come to this conclusion now. That's what Premier Ford is upset about. Let's get more reaction here. Let's go to Glenn in Calgary. Hi, Glenn. On line
Hello.
3. Hi, Glenn. Your reaction to the news, Glenn?
Willing to comment about Trudeau's leaving because I can't use that kind of language on the air.
Okay.
But this becoming another state
right
has come up before. It came up in the 60s.
Okay.
A bunch of us got together and we put polling stations in all the northern states and all the way across Canada and the Yukon for people to give their opinion. Now, 14% voted for us to become a total of 11 states. And in the States, 29% voted to leave the U.S. and join Canada.
Okay.
We had several million votes. It took a long time for us to count.
Okay.
So,
Well before my time, but I mean, do you really think it has a chance of happening now, I guess? I don't want to get too off track, but I mean, this idea of Canada becoming... Not a chance,
there
right? Yeah,
might be a chance if he offered us 13 states because there's 10 provinces and 3 territories, but he'll never do that. And I don't think anybody, except a few radicals, would actually consider it otherwise.
Okay. All right. Glenn, I thank you for the call. I want to kind of stay focused on the big news of the day, and that's, the Prime Minister is the newsmaker of the day. I mean, a lot of people have been waiting for this day, and now it's here, and now the process begins, and there's going to be a new Liberal leader, and that person will become the next Prime Minister. Can they get all of that done before March 24th when the House is back? Kyle in Listowel. Hi there, Kyle.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Kyle. How do you feel about this announcement today?
Listen, I voted for Trudeau back in 2015.
Okay.
And there are things that he's done that I think have been great for the country.
Okay.
He put Canada on the map in the beginning of his career when he was a prime minister. He legalized marijuana, which I think was a fantastic thing. I know some people said that, it's bad for your system, just like, anything is bad for your system, drinking alcohol and stuff. So we cannot just make it narrow-minded that what he did with marijuana was a terrible thing. I think it was a good thing that, becoming a federally legal country to have marijuana, I think it's a good thing. But there's, he resonated towards us millennials, us young people to, what some people have said that for us to go out there and vote. And, I don't like Trudeau now. I'm not a fan of him. I'm kind of bittersweet. I wish he did kind of go down with the Liberal Party and go to the polls as a leader and to see what actually happens instead of proroguing government and waiting for a new leader, right? So I'm a little bittersweet, but I think early when he first became Prime Minister of Canada, I think he did a lot of good things. And I think as his career ended and he resigned today, I think that kind of went over his head and it got more to ego got to him versus just, listening to what Canadians wanted, right? And now there's a fresh face going on. If I'm 35 or 36 now, so this will be my third time or fifth time voting or sixth time voting because we had 3 elections already, over COVID or whatever, the 2 elections, right? So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. But like I said, I'm very bittersweet about it.
Bittersweet. Okay, Kyle, thank you. Good to hear from you. 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. It was a very busy first hour. It's time for the second hour of Talkback. More of your calls just ahead and getting your reaction to Justin Trudeau getting the ball rolling, announcing that he will step down as the Liberal leader and the Prime Minister after the new Liberal leader is chosen, and that person will become the Prime Minister, and Parliament is prorogued until March 24th. How do you feel about this news? What is Trudeau's legacy? What will you remember about Justin Trudeau's time as Prime Minister of this country? 1-833-668-2577. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Well, the big news of the day is federal politics. They don't come much bigger than this when a prime minister announces, I'm done. I am out of here. He's not quite out of here just yet. Justin Trudeau has revealed, though, that he plans to step down as the leader of the Liberal Party and as Prime Minister of Canada. That will happen after a Liberal leadership race. And as well, he has requested, and the Governor General has accepted that request, that Parliament be prorogued. So the House of Commons, the Senate, not back until the 24th of March. The House of Commons was to resume business on the 27th of January. So we are asking, now that all of this has been set into motion, how do you feel about this news? And in your opinion, what do you think Justin Trudeau's legacy will be? What will you remember Justin Trudeau for? 9 years plus as Prime Minister of this country. Andre in Kitchener. Hi, Andre.
Hi, Rob.
Hi, Andre.
Well, keep me in line if I'm a little bit off because I didn't had enough of my prescription marijuana right now.
Okay.
But what I would remember, unfortunately, is his lack of transparency to Canadians.
Okay.
Like Al said a bit. That's very unfortunate because I'm not a big politics person, but living in Montreal, I got to know a little bit more about his father, right, Pierre Trudeau.
Sure. And
I voted for his son because of that gene, like in hockey. And unfortunately, the lack of transparency, the people in Canada a lot of them are liberal, and he let that crash because of that. Now, what I would want if I had a crystal ball for the Liberal is for the ladies, like I said last week, probably or 2 weeks ago, is Mrs. Freeland. That's her chance to step up, and I think she will. Mélanie Joly, who I have a lot of respect for, hopefully she'll be part of it. And I really love Marjorie Knight from around here. Hopefully she can step in. So a lot of woman power. I don't know. I had a rumor in the past that maybe Poilievre would transfer from Conservative to Liberal. What do you think about that?
No, not a chance. No.
Okay.
No,
but, because he is a smart finance person, and that's, I think, what we need a lot in Canada, right? Is the inflation went so high, and give money, but we got to bring it down. And Poilievre, I know it's not about him, but I really believe that he's strong and he's going to bring the crime and all that stuff and face the bull on the other side.
Okay.
Because right now, Rob, I'm afraid of this silent is giving time for a lot of people to do things. Have a good day, Rob.
All right. But Andre says what he will remember Justin Trudeau for is, during his time as Prime Minister, is the lack of transparency. That's interesting. Bill in Kitchener, because the Liberals said, we're going to be the most open and transparent government in history. Bill in Kitchener. Hello, Bill.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good, Bill.
I'm glad he's gone.
He's not gone yet, but he's on his way out. Yeah.
What I'd like to look at, we're focusing on the Prime Minister, but I'd like to look at, before he was hired, what he had accomplished, what he had did, what kind of experience he had, and the fact that Canadians actually voted him in. Now, if you're hiring somebody to run $1 billion, whatever it takes to run Canada, and say, okay, you're going to be the CEO, nobody would hire anybody with no accomplishments much. He was a teacher. Like, who would hire somebody to be a CEO with no accomplishments, no experience, and nothing he hasn't accomplished anything. So I like to look at the Canadians and say, what were you thinking? Like, we wouldn't even do that.
Okay. Maybe you can explain that in 2015, but he won 3 elections. 3. Not
Yeah,
one.
That
3.
just shows
right?
how dumb Canadians are.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I mean, would you hire a guy to be CEO of a massive company?
Well, I wouldn't hire Justin Trudeau to be CEO of a massive company, and I never voted for the man. So.
Okay, it's a bad correlation. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
But you wouldn't put somebody in charge of some massive thing like this with 0 accomplishments and no experience. Nobody would do that. But yet we did it.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Okay. So how are you feeling today now that he's announced, at least in the next few months he'll be leaving? Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you?
I'm happy today, but
happy?
Not happy about Trudeau. I mean, I'm glad he's gone, but you gotta make your own way.
And
do what you gotta
as
do.
far as you're concerned, his legacy, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but his legacy would be what? Unqualified, not up to the job, stuff like that?
I'm more concerned about Canadians. Like, who would put somebody that has no experience, no accomplishments in power? It just doesn't make any sense. It's
All right, Bill.
What are we doing?
Gotcha, Bill. Thank you. Good stuff. We'll speak again. 1-833-668-2577. More of your calls just ahead. 1, 2, 3 lines available. It's been very busy so far, so the wait won't be too long. I told you 2025 would be off to a running start, and here we go. So join the conversation, will you? Love to hear from you today. It's big, big news. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
A lot of people have been wondering, where's Justin Trudeau? What's Justin Trudeau going to do? Well, now we know, because today's the day. He had a news conference at Rideau Cottage where he had so many COVID-related news conferences where he announced things like the CERB. That was the backdrop. That was the scene of the news conference today, and he announced his intention to step down as the leader of the Liberal Party and as Prime Minister. There'll be a Liberal leadership race, and the winner of that will become the next Prime Minister, and the Governor General has prorogued Parliament until March 24th. What is your reaction to this news today? What's Justin Trudeau's legacy as Prime Minister? Robert in Cambridge. Hello, Robert.
Hello, Robert. Well, I don't know why we're all shocked. The narcissist stayed in as long as he could. What makes me laugh is we were talking earlier, one of your callers had mentioned about the other Trudeau. The other Trudeau, even up till today, and I'm shocked by how few news agencies picked this up, on the Patrick Bet-David show about a month ago, they even brought out the fact of massive sexual allegations against Pierre Elliott Trudeau, where David Rockefeller literally was passing on a 9-year-old. The lady was on live talking about how she was abused. She said she was so scared of Trudeau, the only thing she thought that could make him happy was her demise.
Okay, I don't know anything about that, Robert. I don't know anything about that. But what does that have to?
Okay.
And even so, what? Okay, what about the news of the day?
I was going to say, Rob, when you come from a family that is absolutely screwed up, look at the mother. Yeah, I don't know why we were ever wondering why this guy could take the greatest country on the planet and destroy it in 10 years. So, if anything, I'm happy to see that he's gone.
Right.
As you said earlier, I don't think he's really gone yet. And the fact that he's going to hold all Canadians hostage for 3 to 5 months, where the Liberal Party knew this guy was a complete disaster for at least the last year and a half. I'm trying to figure out in my head, why do we have to put up with that crap?
Okay.
Why do we have to wait?
Gotcha,
Why
Robert.
didn't they have this all prepared?
Well, yeah, excellent point. Excellent point. I mean, I was thinking prior to the, do you remember this, David? Prior to the summer break, the Liberals, they had this talking point that they were floating out there to members of the press gallery. We are confident that we will narrow the gap with the Conservatives by 5 points over the summer. We'll make up 5 points over the summer. And didn't happen. The gap wasn't narrowed at all, only grew wider. And then what happened? Shock poll comes out just before New Year's Eve, Angus Reid Institute, that showed the Liberals at 16% support. nationwide. And Angus Reid, which has been in the polling business for a long time, the Angus Reid Institute, said it had never seen a number like that before for the Liberal Party of Canada. Lowest ever measured for the Liberals in the modern era, it said. And with the Conservatives at 45% in that same poll, I mean, you're talking about a gap that wasn't narrow by 5 points. It grew to almost 30 points. And if that holds, I mean, you're talking wipeout for the Liberal Party in the next election. But to Robert's point in Cambridge, all to say, could have been dealt with long ago. Could have been dealt with this time last year or this past summer. Not 2 weeks from the inauguration of President Trump.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
So immediately, nothing really changes. Who's the leader of the Liberal Party now? It's Justin Trudeau. Who's the Prime Minister of Canada? It's still Justin Trudeau. But all of that will change in the coming weeks and months, and there will be a new Liberal Party leader, and there will be a new Prime Minister. We're just gathering your reaction to all of this, how you feel about the news, and we can begin to talk about this person's legacy, 23rd Prime Minister of Canada, calling it quits. Luke in Calgary. Luke.
Yeah, I'm elated.
You're elated, okay.
I am elated.
Okay.
I'm also kind of shocked, but I am absolutely elated that he has made the correct decision to get out. Like it's enough,
Okay.
But I've got to say that there was a caller on about 4 calls ago that suggested that Chrystia Freeland would be a good pick to replace him. She was in charge of finance. Like, isn't everything to do with inflation, food prices, gas prices, just the housing? Doesn't that all fall on her as well?
Well, I think whoever runs in this Liberal leadership, if they were part of the Justin Trudeau government, they're going to have a really tough time.
Absolutely.
And if you're the Minister of Finance, you're going to have to defend high inflation and high interest rates and a cost of living crisis and a housing crisis and a $60 billion debt and a $1.3 trillion national debt and a $60 billion deficit and all of this stuff. And you were there for all.
Grocery shopping. I bought a bag and a half of vegetables, some bread, some milk, and hot dog buns. It was $64.
Oh, yeah.
And some of it was like on sale. You swipe your card, you get a bit of a deal. Like, it's insane. You can't defend that.
Yeah.
And then the other fact, he said they have 16% support. I want to know what 16% of people think.
Who are the 16%?
Like, I need more of this.
Okay.
Come on.
Well, I think it's down now to, and I've said this before, I think it's down to a values thing for those 16%. Like, I just don't.
Yeah.
I'm a liberal. I'm always a liberal, and I just don't have conservative values, or I don't see myself reflected in the New Democrats or what have you, and that's what I think anyway. Yeah.
Anyways, Happy New Year.
So you're happy, though. You're happy.
Let
me ask you this.
He's
what will you
there.
remember Justin Trudeau for?
Well, probably either brownface, the female, he got Me Too'd, and they were able to. He got Me Too'd, and he stood in front of the cameras and said, some people remember things differently.
Right.
If anyone else on planet Earth said that, they would have been hung for it.
So his ability to survive all of those scandals.
Yeah, during the pandemic there, when he ran away from the truckers, he was like, I got a cough. Oh, the virus. I got to go, guys. And he ran away. Like, it's just endless.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Well, we'll have a lot of time to talk about it now, Luke. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. I mean, 9 years of material. 9 years. And 63 days. And counting. Jason in Kitchener. Hi, Jason.
Rob,
Yes.
everybody's just pooping on the guy today, and I'm not here to defend him.
Okay.
I think he's well past his prime.
Okay.
I'm not sure if people were tired of the Liberal Party, more so they were tired of Justin Trudeau. And yet, like every politician, they've made mistakes. They have stuff in the past. Let's talk about some of the good things. Now, on the behest of the NDP party, we started to look towards a pharmacare program, providing low-income individuals, seniors, with actual dental care. And for those seniors who are listening, who have called in, you better get that done before October, because one of the first programs Mr. Poilievre is going to cut are the social programs. That's going to go $10 a day child care, which has invested.
Who's getting $10 a day child care? Is anyone in the country getting their child care for $10 a day? Do you know anyone? Do you know anyone in the country who gets their child care for $10 a day? Even one person?
Rob,
you do?
I don't. My kids don't go to daycare. I don't have any friends who have kids in daycare. But it's not just obviously, all the provinces signed up for it.
They signed up for it, sure.
It's just not a pie in the sky kind of an idea,
right?
But regardless, what disappoints me most, I think we wouldn't be in this shape if he had stuck to his initial promise when he was elected for electoral reform. We wouldn't be heading down where 16% of voters are going to get one or two seats across the country. And so, you know what? People can talk about treason. You got a caller talking about his mom had mental health, or his mom was crazy. That's the problem. Like, enough is enough. Like, there's another caller talking, well, we're such a divided country. Well, you want to know why we're a divided country? Don't always blame the politicians. We have to look at ourselves inherently. We're the ones that are out there constantly debating with other Canadians or debating with our neighbors and our coworkers about what's right or what's wrong. We're part of the problem too, but we're also part of the solution. So we need to end the rhetoric of this nonsense of he needs to be hung for treason, or Poilievre, or Jagmeet's only around there for his pension. Like, let's move on. Let's create a better country, because we have a great country. It's not done. It's not defeated, as some people have alluded to in the last 10 years. I am able to call you and express my opinion. That's a free country. We have democracy. We may not like what the outcomes of the democracy, our democratic process are, but we still have the right to vote. And so, you know what? I think it's time for him to go. I've been saying it for a long time, but, the Liberal Party, they'll rebound, give them about 4 or 5 years, maybe. Okay. I don't know. Okay. Thanks, Rob.
I don't know. I think they might be in the political wilderness for a little more than 4 years this time. I think that, they're facing, this could be existential for them. When you take, for example, you called from Ontario, you look at where the Ontario Liberal Party is right now. Not very good. Or the Quebec Liberal Party. Where's the BC Liberal Party now? Doesn't even exist anymore. I mentioned this last week. It's not a good time for liberal parties, just generally speaking, in this country, and maybe it's the federal Liberals' turn now. But we'll be back with more of your calls when we return to Talkback as we discuss and debate the big news of the day. From Justin Trudeau, beginning the process of selecting a successor as both Liberal leader and Prime Minister, one would assume. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
On the Trudeau news. Up next, Danvar in Calgary is up next. Hi, Danvar.
Hey, Rob. Happy New Year.
Same to you, Danvar. Good to hear from you. What's your reaction to the news? How do you feel now this is happening? Like, good? Happy? Sad?
I know it was one of the options anyways, right? Before the holidays that the Parliament would be prorogued.
Yes.
Whatever the reason, it's still prorogued, right?
It is.
So that's
what do you think about that?
A good thing. That's not a good thing.
Not a good thing? Okay.
Yeah. About the legacy, if you look at it, like it's everything, all the decisions were they were like more drama than actually happening. Like even the biggest platform, the environment, like there was so much drama on that, but like what is the actual results that they have in the past 10 years, if you compare that? Like they're not even close to
like more talk, a lot of talk, not much action, or style over substance. To use these cliches, kind of thing. Danvar, is that what you mean?
Yeah, I hope it all goes in the in the better national interest. Like the incumbents, they realize that arrogance. The Canadians are basically fed up with the arrogance. So I don't know. Hopefully, we have a better future.
Okay. Thank you, Danvar. Good to hear from you. Appreciate the call. Line 4, Kitchener. Ernie is in Kitchener. Hi, Ernie.
Hey, Rob.
What do you think about the news? How does that make you feel?
I wasn't really surprised. I don't think anybody really was. I know it's big news.
Yeah.
I'm just frustrated. I think this is, another selfish move by the leader of our country, the one who we're supposed to believe in and have hope in and give some hope back to us. And when you're asking everybody one word, the biggest one word that I have is divisiveness. How this one guy, didn't matter who you were, apparently he was on your side. It could have been any group. You could have, unless it was a group against him. So, and we see that time and time again. The country's worse off than it's been in a long time. And the other thing I just was thinking about is, like, I hate to use the term hatred. I used it twice there, but what you see, how a public leader, I've never seen this before, where a public leader would have to almost hide his itinerary everywhere he went. When have we ever seen this in Canada before? Where he couldn't even go out anywhere. It just speaks volumes of how Canadians feel, and now he's handcuffed us again to wait. Because, of course, we're going to have a totally new Liberal Party that's way different than what's been there the past, since 2015?
Yeah. That was, you know what, David, can you pull up that soundbite from the Bloc leader? This was Mr. Blanchette's point today. Are you telling me, because the reporters are saying, is there any way you could support the Liberal Party and have a new leader? Do you really think this is going to be a brand new Liberal Party in 77 days from now, after 9 years of... play that, David. That was really interesting.
What if there is something that is put on the table that the Bloc Québécois has been asking for, that a new Liberal leader decides to say, we would like your support in exchange for this?
We are beyond that.
Now is time for an election, which I will understand that would be held after the Liberal Party has chosen a new leader. And there's nothing else to be taken into consideration at this point.
We are beyond that. I know a lot of people, they won't like Blanchette because he's a separatist, of course, but when it comes right down to it, the guy makes a lot of sense sometimes. Is this really going to be a brand new Liberal Party in 77 days from now?
What can I even argue? Well, the only thing that I could see coming out is we made a lot of mistakes. We realize that now. We understand during this leadership race that we were out of touch with you. Meanwhile, they've been in the party for this long and supported this guy. I know there's been a lot of individual divisiveness, but again, it all boils down to the selfishness of the leader for not allowing these things to happen. So divisiveness is my thing, Rob.
Divisiveness. Yep. No, it's a good one.
The one thing I'm looking forward to, at least there's NFL playoffs. I know me and you're both big football fans. I'm a big Ravens fan, so I'm looking forward to... That's going to keep me a little bit...
that'll keep me occupied as well, because I'm a Denver Broncos fan, and the Denver Broncos are in the playoffs for the first time since 2015.
There you go. You snuck in, and you got in there.
Yeah.
There's there too, but
I have to play Buffalo on the wild card, so it's probably going to be short-lived, but at least they're in there.
It's close enough. You can go.
Yeah.
You can go.
Okay. Thank you, Ernie. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Rob.
Bye-bye. Eric in Halifax. Hello, Eric.
Hey, Rob.
Hi, Eric.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Well, first of all, the damage has already been done. You can't cry over spilt milk. Secondly, I don't know what his legacy was. I mean, he did what he could do, but he didn't have anybody backing him up. And friends like his...
What do you mean he didn't have anybody back him up? In the first term, he had the majority government, and for the last 2+ years, he had the New Democrats support him on just about everything.
Yeah, I know, but his party, when
oh yeah, in the last 3 weeks. In the last 3 weeks, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean that was kicking a man while he was down. I mean, like I just finished saying, friends like his, who needs enemies in this world? And we'll see what happens in the next election. I mean, I told you a long time ago that Pierre is not the man. He's not the savior. And Singh, oh Jesus, he's a hypocrite from day one. And the Party Quebec person, I don't know. I mean, it's really frustrating to watch the TV shows and listen to the radio. Like I say, it's over. I mean, He's got to move on and let the chips fall where they may.
All right, Eric. Thank you. Good to hear from you today. We'll be right back. We'll take a couple of more calls, and then we will wrap up what has been one wild and crazy talkback today. No big surprise given the bombshell news today. Justin Trudeau is moving on. Eventually. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Well, we don't have a lot of time left, but we do have some time left to discuss the big news of the day. The current event of the day is the pending resignation of Justin Trudeau as leader of the Liberal Party and as Prime Minister of Canada. Gathering your reaction to that. What do you think about it? How does it make you feel? And say 10, 20 years from now when somebody's saying, what do you remember about the time Justin Trudeau was Prime Minister? What would you say Justin Trudeau as Prime Minister? What would you say is his legacy? What will you remember about him? Diane in Diamond Valley, Alberta. Hi, Diane.
Hi. I just want to say I found him to be a very big disappointment.
Okay.
And I think it's more shocking. I think we were all expecting something to come from last week's meeting with Trudeau and his major people. I'm disappointed that they didn't do this sooner. And hearing from a lot of people and friends who live in Ontario, and they're talking about voting the Liberal Party in because it's Trudeau they don't like, it's not the party, and they're concerned about the Conservatives. I got to tell you, I'm not happy about that.
That people would reconsider voting for the Liberals because they're worried about the Conservatives.
Right. And
Right.
what's even worse now is people here in co-workers and people are all talking about separating. If they think Donald Trump not getting in would have caused a problem for a division in the U.S., they have better start thinking about how this would become divisive in Canada and just how would Ontario be able to fare for themselves if they didn't have Alberta alone or the West supporting them.
Okay, so, you say you're disappointed in him? Okay.
Yeah,
what do you think his legacy will be then?
What I really think I can't say on the radio,
Okay,
but I would.
right. You don't have a radio version, a polite version of it.
Okay.
Just disappointment. You're incredibly disappointed.
I think he could. I think the Liberals picked him because he was a nice-looking young guy, and they told him what to do. He didn't have a clue. If it wasn't scripted for him, he was lost.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too,
All
Diane.
right.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah. That's what Jason Kenney said about him, the former Harper-era cabinet minister and premier of Alberta, that he had the depth of a finger bowl. All right. Big news day, David.
You can say that again.
Yeah. So, what will you remember in 30 seconds or less? Mr. Trudeau. I know it's early hours here into this, but for someone your age, this is the defining politician.
Yeah.
Of someone your age of Gen Z is Justin Trudeau.
I think Justin Trudeau's legacy for Canadians of my age demographic will be simply this. In 2015, Canada was enjoying good times. You could afford a home, education and hard work paid off. 10 years later, the country is in tough times. It's more divided than ever. And we've only had one leader during that period. So from good times to bad, Justin Trudeau wears
a lot of it.
The state of the country right now. And I think, unfortunately, he will be looked back on as a poor prime minister.
Poor prime minister. Okay. Well, look, I would imagine this will probably come up tomorrow. We're already planning our coverage for tomorrow. The day is not done, and there's lots of stories to tell about Justin Trudeau and what happens next in Canadian politics. We'll bring you right up to date with the latest breaking news coming up next on News Radio.